So let's go back to you were talking about fully funded. You can have 24, but you're not fully funded, and that's something that most colleges is a problem that most colleges have. And I try to explain to parents and kids that when you start looking up online like 11.7 or NAI's got 12 or whatever and 24 for D1 JUCO, D2 JUCO, I tell them don't count on it. So can you give a little bit of a reality check to the fact that a full athletic scholarship is extremely rare at many levels of college baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The closest level to get a full athletic scholarship is going to be the JUCO level. You just don't see them at a lot of other levels. A lot of really good players I've had in the past, their academic money is what drove them most of their tuition. Um, that's why, especially when you get to junior college, I don't want to say it's a complete reset, but if you come in here and you're crushing a classroom and if you've never got straight A's before, I tell guys, go get tutor, go get this, go get that. Obviously, I'm a little different. I'm going to push guys who I know struggle in certain areas. But, if you're in high school and you're listening to this and you're a freshman or sophomore and your mom and dad are spending X amount of money on showcases where you're just getting exposed right now because everybody's a lot better than you need to, one, not go to those events, save your money. Two, go get some training. And three, get a tutor. Go get ACT prep, SAT prep. I know some schools have, they've waived that this year because of COVID as their application requirements, but you're going to need that in the future, especially for those classes. Get that help. A lot of people just don't think about that.
What are some of the challenges and limitations that you do face as a junior college?
I mean, I think the biggest thing right now, and I know we keep going back because the JUCO ball's changed, and one of the challenges we're going to face is that average kid who maybe in my eyes or another coach's eye was the average kid that we would have took because he was a local kid or wherever he's from, and helped develop that kid. There's just so much more players out there now where there's such a big trickle down effect. The transfer portal is made not just the Division I level gone crazy, JUCOs too, because every school's got access to it pretty much. So the Walter States of the world. I love Coach Shelton to death, but I mean that school in itself, they're going to live off the transfer portal. So if you don't have the ability to go back and look at rosters to see, well, they got this, this player from this D1 or this D2. You got to be able to do that. And I think that's changed JUCO totally. The landscape, obviously, it just depends on the areas too. Up north, once you get into your D3 and all that, people go, well, that's not good baseball. Well, go play a Division III from New Jersey and have fun with the doubleheader. I mean, there's, the Ron Glossers of the world or even Tyler Junior College or even Prince George where I came from. I mean, you got a lot of good programs all over the map, but JUCO baseball is different. I think that's one of the things where, COVID's going to affect this and they're going to affect the players. I think it's going to make the next 2 years are going to be the best JUCO baseball that guys have seen in the last 20 years because there's more talented players now. The guy who should be a freshman, possibly a freshman All-American at said Power 5 school is now at a JUCO because he was told he probably wasn't going to get a shot. So, if you're that kid right now that's just not really getting talked to, you got to kind of think about that. And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. Some coaches won't tell them. I'm always with the guys out there. I'm like, look, in November, December, the portal's going to break because, there's a lot of guys with their jobs on the line that got kept another year at their college that they've brought in a lot of players and so many more players are going to be on the line come December. So you got to kind of look at how's your game going to compare to everybody else. So that's made this game – I think it's going to make our game better, but it's also going to make it harder for guys to get in as well.
So we're flipping the card now. So we're talking about the challenges and limitations. So now what are the advantages and the reasons that, kids who might not be considering junior college, I'm a good student, I'm a good ball player. Why, what is the advantage of taking that JUCO route?
I mean, I think the number one advantage, obviously, it's easy to say save money. I mean, our tuition is going to be lower in most places. Two is you have the ability to get more academic money. You go to a JUCO and you crush in a classroom. Like I said, we have a lot of high academic kids that, I've sold the fact that, yeah, you probably were going to get that academic money, but now you're also going to be getting another 5,000, if not more, because you're coming with more college credits. You're coming as a, with an associate's degree or what have you to a 4-year school. Third factor, ability to play right away. And I think that's kind of the given, but you also have the ability to develop. And I think that's where a lot of coaches don't talk about, because we have more time to be with guys. When I was in the Ivy League, we only had 16 hours a week, and that's not 16 hours on the field. That's in the weight room. That's, any time of mealtime, that's contact hours. So anytime we're with them and we're in a classroom setting, that the clock starts. So, and I think that's where guys that hear 20 hours of practice for D1, you don't get that. And, at the JUCO level, especially the fall, you have more time with guys. So if you're a guy who, even redshirting at JUCO is not the end of the world, because you have so much time to be with, and actually get to work and get your craft better. But I don't think, especially the high school kid, we have tunnel vision and all we see is D1. And I think if more games got televised, like on an ESPN3 app, or if somebody would televise more JUCO games, guys can actually see the games. They don't watch games, so they don't really know what the game's like. So I think that's kind of a disservice to our division right now too. Kind of, kids just don't know. So.
Have you ever taken a risk on a character issue player? Did it work out, and would you do it again?
Yeah, I heard this question from your last interview. Yeah, I think we take risk on every kid. It's just, and that's one of the things to where we've had a couple kids in previous programs that, because, said coach or travel coach or high school coach had an issue with that kid, doesn't mean he's not going to fit for you. I've had kids run through brick walls for me that just the way that the coach approached them, they didn't know how to handle it at the time. They just weren't prepared for that. Everybody, we're all human. There's guys who are out there listening to this. They may not be able to play for my style, and that's fine. But I think that's one thing when it comes down to character and taking a risk on a guy, kids make mistakes, and having the ability to go, and you hear a lot from JUCO, you got a fall spot. You prove it to me. We've done that in the past. And, yeah, we've lost some guys that didn't make it out of the fall at Prince George's, but, we've also had some guys that surprised us that came out, especially that 17 team that, we took chances on a couple guys that year that between the fact that it was their last chance to the fact that it was their only chance. And it was a mixed mosh of kids from all over the country, and especially from Maryland too. But, I can think of, we had at least 3 or 4 guys that, some programs weren't even going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. But just the coaching style of my former head coach, Coach Foster, myself, and the rest of the coaching staff, Coach Williams, it's a testament to kind of how we're able to deal with different kids. And I think if you have the ability to coach to the player, you'll be more successful. So I think that's where I'm a little different. I try to figure out what makes a kid tick, what kind of pushes him a little different, because, you might have 25 kids and you got to kind of operate a little different. It's easy to said that, but old school, new school, you got to have a fine mix nowadays.
All right, Coach, what misconceptions do you think high school athletes have about college recruiting and college baseball in general? Give them a reality check on the nature of college recruiting.
I think the biggest thing is they think every kid they see that commits is signing a letter of intent or is getting full tuition. It's not the truth anymore. Social media has been great for our game, but it's also been it's been a hinder because, guys see, little Jimmy's committed to, this school, and now, well, he throws 78 across the diamond, but I throw 84. Now, the numbers are great. Everybody sees perfect game and PBR numbers and all that, but you got these kids now. It's kind of got this effect to where everybody's looking, they're scoreboard watching. They're not worried about their game anymore. And you see that when guys go to showcases, they They don't know how to play catch. They don't play catch outside of competition, if that makes sense. Like, we're always trying to showcase. Coach Ryan comes out and like we're trying to showcase for him. Well, Coach Bowles, myself, I come out, I'm just hanging out at our practice. Well, we have to showcase. And I don't think these guys ever have time to just, be themselves and kind of make mistakes. And that's kind of the way our game is right now. And I really think that has to and maybe it's going to be the college level of the pro game, but that's got to change before it's going to get better.
All right, so we were talking about film earlier. Obviously, I love film. That's it's part of the the business that I'm trying to help with these kids is to promote themselves. So, do you think film is important in the recruiting process? How should it be used? And what do you look for in the film? And how much do you really need to watch before you know if a kid can play some ball?
Yeah, I mean, film's huge, especially for any program, Division I or Division I now is huge. Everybody says, well, why am I competing at this event when no Division I school is going to be there? How do you know they're not watching? I mean, PBR Florida has kind of set the tone on how to do video. Everybody's got a camera, but the fact there's too many apps out there to, a lot of people just sit a camera up and put a wide lens on it, and that's all they get, instead of having like the batter view and the pitcher view. I don't know if you got to see, when they had their little PBR showcase, they did a really nice job. They had, the player bios, kind of any type of analytical stuff in there for the coaches. Well, it's great. But, if you're going to a showcase now that says, oh, we're going to videotape, and they just do, kind of – and we're all guilty of it because it's easy to do. It's easy to press play and just let it go. But that's not – you can't sell that video. You can't take that video and really cut it up. You were asking watching video. This is why I get, I laugh when guys, have all the music and everything. You don't really need it. You need to be quick to the point. It's kind of, lack of a better term. If, you want to have it short enough to where it covers, covers just enough to where it's not going to bore you to death, if that makes sense. If you're really good at one tool, showcase that off. I get so many guys where it's their 60-yard dash and it's them taking some ground balls. Well, I don't want to say they're terrible, but they were a plus 7.2 runner. They, aren't the best fielder. They got 2 left feet, whatever. They don't flow, but they can hit. And by the time we got there, half the coaches in the country have already, clicked next, and they're not looking anymore. So you got to think of that. When it comes to how fast, not very long, because, most coaches, it's kind of instant gratification. Most people see stuff on Twitter. And if it doesn't catch your eye, a lot of guys, they're flipping through their phones. I mean, if it's a guy, it sounds good, like they're going to start watching a little bit more. And I've heard guys in the past go, well, they have to see this and they got to see this attribute. I mean, I just want to see if he's a good mover. That's the big thing. Besides the fact if he's a shortstop fielding ground balls, or he's hitting, or even if he's pitching, and it doesn't matter what position, I got to see if they're a good mover. If we can work with them, we're obviously with our bio scans and the analysis, we're going to know what we need to fix. But at the same token, like if we have a guy who can already move well, we can work with that. Within the first, I'd say 10 to 20 seconds, we can know, yep, that guy can make some gains really fast. Besides the fact what the velo and all that is. And that's one thing where I've learned from past head coaches, it's one of those things to where if you see certain things, they're kind of check marks in the video that it makes sense. And sometimes we're wrong. We are wrong, but majority of the time, like it's just, if you work with a good mover, it's definitely going to help you.
All right. So this is just a general baseball question. This is something that, even before the COVID shutdown, I felt like baseball was in a tough position. Astro cheating scandal didn't help. NCAA has been making some decisions the last couple of years, especially on coach pay. I think I read an article the other day that MLB viewership, the highest demographic is 65 and older. So just kind of stepping back out of, college, high school baseball and just looking at the youth in general, like how do we start intriguing young kids to play baseball again? How do we create more participation?
I think it starts at a youth level. I mean, it starts up top too. If you're MLB, you have the power to uh, really push this game to another level. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, our top player in the game, Mike Trout, half the world doesn't know who he is. I mean, how's that possible? But everybody knows who LeBron is. Like that's kind of the give and take where I look at it to where, you know, you look at Mike Trout and everybody's like, oh, he's great, he's great. That's a baseball fan, but the non baseball fan has no idea who he is. But I don't watch much basketball, but I know who LeBron is. That's one of the things where I look at like that. That's from a whole different side to where we're in a sports center generation where we only watch about 15 seconds of baseball if you're the average fan anymore. So start at the youth level. Baseball was starting to do it well with like the pitch, run and hit, or pitch, hit and run competitions they were doing back in the day, kind of like NFL's punt, pass, and kick. I feel that we lose kids right now, 11, 12, 13U. It's right when guys are starting to get close to 90-foot diamond. The cadence really slow, and regardless of what age. Myself, I love breaking up, especially during midweeks, like when we're inter-squad in the fall, to its small games and getting guys more reps. I think that's especially the youth level, but showcasing guys' skills. And I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. We don't have enough guys in urban communities playing ball. And everybody's like, well, how do we do that? Well, first off, they don't have baseball fields. If you're in Baltimore, like, where are you going to play at? You're not going to play on – it's a concrete jungle. Like, so, Dunbar builds a state-of-the-art football field for the Poets up there for Dunbar High School, but, they don't have a baseball field that's, worth a crap. I don't get it where some of these places – so if you don't take pride in baseball as a whole, how do you expect any of those kids that want to play? So when it comes to that, I think, it's easy to say like, oh, the travel model sucks. The travel model is this, until we find a better option, that's kind of where we're at right now. I applaud guys who are trying to do different stuff. And, there's even some organizations that charge a lot that they have some teams that they're trying to push. And I'm not saying do everything for free, but, when I played, when you played, I mean, we had companies' names on the back of our jerseys, Little League, Babe Ruth, and Pony League. I mean, and they sponsor these teams. But, if I'm a kid in an urban setting, it's a very long game. It's a boring game but like, if you don't know, like, the nuances. So, like, they don't see, like, the Jackie Bradley Juniors and guys like that and Adam Jones, we played for the Orioles. He's now over in Japan. I mean, he was one of our biggest advocates when I was down coaching. I was coaching high school because he would come to the Boys and Girls Club in Annapolis. And, like, I tell guys, the one thing I tell them when they were like, hey, how do we push the game? I brought Adam Jones to a Boys and Girls Club, and no one knew who he was. Like, there was 85 kids there, and no one knew who Adam Jones was. How's that possible? Because those kids don't watch baseball on TV. They're not subjected to, that kind of they don't see it. How do we push it a little bit more? And I blame ourselves. There's got to be a way for us to do a little bit more. Guys can complain and say, we don't do enough for this. We don't. I mean, it's still – at the end of the day, it's still a light game. It really is. As much as and I don't want to kind of get into a whole like what's going on in the world, but everybody else is talking about it. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, the really good teams. Every MLB team has international players, and I feel like we got more international players than a lot of the urban communities here and like anywhere. MLB kind of threw a patch on it with the RBI initiative, the MLB Intercities, and that's pretty much all they could do. But, think about it from Charlotte, but the only team that kind of comes to mind is like the Charlotte Metro Reds. That's pretty much it. I know the young woman up in Raleigh, she's been trying to get an RBI team together, but other than that, if you don't have money to play this game, it's just like ice hockey. It's starting to become a really expensive game now. But that's kind of where I'm at. with the future of the game. I think, a lot more stuff on TV. MLB is a billion-dollar company, so you can spend money in advertising. You can spend money on social media. Where are the kids at? They're on IG. So put stuff on Instagram. Put stuff that they're going to see it. Do MLB TikToks. I mean, I hate to say it, but, go where the people are. That's just me personally. But that makes the game fun, and the game, if more people can enjoy it, we're going to have better viewership in the years to come.
All right. I think this is going to be my last question for you, and then we'll shut down the interview and maybe talk a little bit on some players. I appreciate you doing this today. I really do.
Really?
I'm really excited about Baseball University. I miss working in the showcase industry. Like I told you, my whole plan, especially after what we were just talking about, is trying to find a way to do it more charitable. I've been approaching churches, I've been approaching businesses. But, I think it can be helpful, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. So let's talk a little bit about the showcase, the travel, the college recruiting industry right now. How do you see it helping baseball? How do you see it hindering it? And if you had to make a change to that model to be a little bit more inclusive, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things right now to where, we talk about it's expensive to play. It's expensive to go to Perfect Game or PBR. But at the same time, the big players in the game, I mean, there's no reason why, they can't do something that can entice, maybe they have a tournament, let's say it's Atlanta, Georgia. Well, the local kids in Atlanta who are in high school, get a bid to come in. That's one of the things too you got to think about like that. I'm just kind of throwing different scenarios out. I think travel ball's, kind of where it's our state of the game right now is the only thing we have. It's kind of the lifeline that we have, between the couple impact tournaments, couple perfect game, and dynamic tournaments that are going in the area at private fields. That's pretty much it. There's kind of nothing to really write home about right now. So, as a coach, it's a necessary evil. We need them to sustain, be able to recruit and all that. But our recruiting calendar is actually the hindrance of all this, is the fact that the Division I calendar at the 4-year level, and they've talked about moving the calendar starting in March and all that. That's also going to change the arms and how much guys pitch and all that. I mean, if you have college baseball going into the summer and you're seeing guys who don't want to play games right now because of, colleges won't be there. Come on now. And that's the thing that we're all guys want to pitch to throw to the radar gun. They want to pitch to show this coach and all that. But how many guys are playing for themselves or actually playing for their school or playing for, their actual organization? They're not. Most of these guys bop around different organizations. They shop organizations. Like you were talking about rec coaching. A guy might have great intentions or hasn't been at the highest level of the game, but because, little Johnny's team over here has sent X players to Division I because maybe they just picked up the best players they could because all the bottom teams were feeding those players money and they didn't have to pay for the top team, their national team or whatever. They're able to get those recruits. You kind of got to look at it all like that too. From a kid's perspective, it's tough, but there's so much that still needs to be done. I never want to, complain about, hey, this person should be making money. I mean, it is what it is right now. Like that's it. We've allowed it to happen. Parents have allowed, Perfect Game to charge $50 for their car just to park their car and watch their kid for a pass. It's stuff like that to where everybody's like, well, I want to watch my kid. Well, if every parent tried to sneak in to watch, they'd stop charging. You know what I mean? Like if every parent did this, we wouldn't have that issue. Like it's a whole trickle down effect. If, it's one of those things to where they have it out there and we're still doing it, of course they're going to keep doing it. If guys stop signing up for events, as well as I know, a lot of these really good teams, most of those kids are already committed. They don't need to play. they still need to. I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, like, you know, what is that accomplishing as a whole to still charge that team X amount of money? You know, who's making all the money? All the guys up top are. I think if we get, like you said, if MLB comes in, you know, how can they help? I don't know. If they sponsor an event and all that to where majority of that cuts cost. I get it. Umpires calls, baseballs are like white gold. I mean, it's just it is what it is, and that's the whole thing. I think travel ball is a necessary evil that we until we have a better model, it's not going away. And it's literally going to just keep being a bigger, badder model that the rich are going to get richer, and the little teams that are popping up overnight, they're going to keep getting swallowed up by the different teams that keep getting bigger. And I have friends that run big organizations, and I know they're going to listen, they're going to tune in, and they can cuss me as they want. That's fine. I mean, it's just and I'll still recruit from them. I think that's one of the things where, you know, what people don't – it's one of those things like I talked to a team that's really prominent in North Carolina this past week, and if they don't have any top recruits, they're not going to play in the big venues. They're not going to play in front of guys. So they're going to get, you know, a big arm who's a Power 5 guy, and they're going to find a way to get him on that team if it's, you know, giving him a free spot or what have you to attract more schools and attract better venues for their kids to play in. You know, I don't think that's what the average kid sees that, or even average parent. But the model in itself, there's no, you know, I don't have no quick fix for the idea. I just think in general, we, you know, anybody who's kind of getting into this and we're like, how do I fix this? You know, as much as you can do for your local community, like you said, get guys out. That's the best thing right now. I think if Sandlot games started popping up in summer times, that'd be huge to see. More development, you know, if guys are honest with kids more, instead of telling every little kid that he could play D1, how many guys are we going to have, you know, that are going to be like Michael Jordan in basketball, where they've actually been told no, they weren't good, and get cut, and then actually push to, you know, be good. Everybody uses the Michael Jordan model because he's down here and all that, but it's true. I mean, you know, everybody's been told they're good until they're too old to really push and really have a shot to do anything. And we're doing a disservice to every kid right now. Is that travel ball's model? I don't know. I think that's just the baseball model in general.